Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I am making a daisy using template number 17, and so I have used this petal once before in my Christmas rose, but today I wanted to make a daisy with it. And if you watched any of my other videos, I have made a daisy with template number 7, but I also used that template to make a sunflower. And thinking back, I think that is better suited, template number 7 is better suited for a sunflower rather than a daisy. So I will be using this template to make another daisy and sort of in a different way to give more ideas. And so to start with paper types and weight, I get my cardstock paper from Michaels, and this is 65-pound cardstock. It is paperweight. If you're in an international, this would be equivalent to 176 grams per square meter. You can use anything close to that weight and any color that you'd like. It really depends on what's available to you. So I have 3 different sizes here. I have 22 of this petal here, and this is 5.5 inches tall. I will edit in the width sizes for you. So 22 of this petal. This is 4.5 inches tall. I have 11, and then I have 11 also of this 3.5 inch tall petal. And really quickly, I will sort of prep the petals as I have them here. It's a really easy process. I won't be curling any of the petals, but I will use my bone folder. I'll edit in the name too. I'll use my bone folder to just simply crease the petal a little bit better. You can use anything that you want, something flat, maybe a pen to give a better crease. Essentially, all you need to do is cut that line in the center, that slit, and then with a glue gun, a hot glue gun, simply just add glue to the middle and overlap the 2 petals. So it gives it a slight lift in the petal, and this is what you'd like. So I've done most of my petals in that manner. I will go ahead and do these last 2 and then get started on assembling the flower. Okay, perfect. So now I have all my petals here. I won't be needing my scissors and my bone folder any longer. So I'm starting off with an 8-inch wide circle, and here it can be really tricky, especially if I'm not using an even number of petals for each layer. So I have 2 stacks of 11 petals each, and it can be hard with 11 petals around a circle to be even, to space them out evenly. So one trick that I do is I have washi tape here. It's just a paper tape. I have a lot of this from other hobbies, but essentially it's paper tape, and then it comes off really easy. So I like using it because I can use them to space. I can use the washi tape to space my petals evenly, and then just simply remove it after I've figured out the spacing that I need. And so I'll go ahead and do that really quick and show you what I mean. With 11 petals, it can be tricky to space it out evenly enough, and you don't want to have to glue down every single petal and then realize that you haven't spaced it out evenly enough, and then you have somewhat of a lopsided petal. It is not the worst thing in the world, but sometimes you'd hate to waste some of your work if you could avoid it. And I only do this for the very first layer, because after I glue the first layer down, there is enough of a guide that I can just continue on without having to tape it down. And also, if you're just playing around with different flowers or what it could look like, that might also be an option for you without having to glue it down to see what it looks like. You can play around with spacing or number of petals before you actually commit to gluing the petals down. Since I've made this flower previously, I know that I want about 3/4 of an inch in between petals, but I know that sometimes it doesn't end up that way if I'm in a rush. So that's why I like to have the washi tape. So with this flower, I'm going to glue it about 1/2 inch in, maybe a little over 1/2 inch into the petal. So you can see that it's fairly well spaced and I like the arrangement, and so I can go ahead and glue it down. And so what I'll do is just remove each piece, add a little bit of glue to the bottom, go ahead and glue it in between the space where it should go, and then I'll do that all around. Alright, now that it's glued down, I can glue the second layer of petals just slightly sort of towards the center of the circle, but then in between the petals, the layers, excuse me, in between the petals from the layer below. Perfect, so that is the second layer, and I'll keep going with the last 2 layers that I have. These are a little bit smaller consecutively, so this one's smaller than this one by 1 inch overall in height, and I'll just glue those in between the petal layers of the one before it. Okay, perfect. So this is all that I will do for the petals itself, and now I'll work on the center that I want to make for this flower. So I'll just kind of move it aside. So what I have here is, I talked about this center piece that I made for the Christmas rose, and I hope that you're able to see that against the pink. And so this is just a smaller size of it. I will have that tutorial up shortly after this one, and essentially you can create it in a way where you can adjust the height of the stamens. And so here I've just shortened it a little bit so that I can use them in the center rather than in the center of the center rather than on the outside. And what I'd like to do is essentially just roll it into itself, but you can also choose to just bend the stamens a little bit with any tool that you want, just to give it a little bit of a curl. So you could just do that slightly. And I'm only doing it to the top piece. And then I'm just going to roll it into itself. And I'll do that for all of these sheets that I have, and I have 3. I just want to make sure that I add a little bit of glue along the way, or even just across, so that it does not come apart later. So that is the center of the center. So I just have a lot of stamens. Essentially, I just wanted a fancy center, and that will be what it will be. That's what it will look like in the middle. And so for these, I want to do what I did sort of for template number 8, which, first of all, these sheets were cut from an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper. You can use a technique with the X-Acto knife and just cut lines. These are 1/8 inch lines, and this piece is 6 inches wide. The cut is 5 inches by 11. So, whoops. Essentially, you can cut a piece of paper into 6 by 11, and then cut those lines into it either with the Cricut, a silhouette, or just with an X-Acto knife. And I gave it 1/2 inch margins on both sides, so that's why the cut is 5 inches on a 6 inch piece of paper. Essentially what I want to do is I want to fold my piece of paper up until the margin. So I'm not folding it. I'm not folding it so that each corner touches. I'm folding it just before that, and I want to crease the entire strip down. So it's kind of hard to do this once you've already cut it, but you can use some sort of tool or, you know, a book or something just to press it completely down. Like that. You can just go in and press with your fingers. And then when you open it up, you can glue the two sheets together with the corners, with it corner to corner and the sides sitting together. So you didn't fold it that way, but you can glue it together so that the sides touch, or the sides meet. This essentially creates a curve in this here. So you can see that there is a sort of loop that's created. And what I want is I want it to curve around the center here, and that's the direction that I want it. I could glue it the other way where it's curving outwards, but I want it to curve inwards. If you're making this, it's probably easier to make it yourself, and then you can understand. It might seem, excuse me, it might make more sense if you're making it what I mean, because essentially with the sheet that you create, there's two different sides, and it matters which sides you use for whatever look that you want. Essentially, I'm going to glue this white center here to this piece that I just created. I'm just going to wrap it around. Like so. And glue it until I get that there. And I want to bend this back just a little bit, so it's not so close to that center. It essentially fluffs it up a little bit more. And depending on how you like your centers, you can add more. That's why I have 2 more sheets here if I wanted. So I will bring the flower back in. You see that if I left it at this, it looks like it covers, but I can make it fuller. So I will be using the last 2 sheets. I'll go ahead and prep those, and then I'll show you what it looks like when it's wrapped around. Okay, and now that I've glued together the 3 pieces that I had cut, again, I want to just fluff it out a little bit and just pull back gently. It shouldn't crease the paper too much, so you can be a little handsy with it just to get it to fluff up a little bit more. Or you can leave it the way that it looked, where it's a little bit more tighter. I wanted a more fluffy look. You can see there that it fits perfectly around the center of this flower. So I'm just going to add glue. I'm going to add a generous amount of glue so that it stays. It's a pretty heavy center with all those pieces of paper. Stick it right in the middle. And then I'm going to just press down until the glue dries. And so I think it may be a little washed out, but this is actually a deep red. And it's supposed to be a light pink. Let me see if I adjust the lights in here a little bit. That would help. But overall, it's a really pretty color. As you can see, I really like big, fancy centers, and so this is what I've used here, but you can use anything more simpler if you'd like. You can curl the petals here a little bit more inwards to look more like a Gerber daisy, if you'd like. There are a lot of things you can do. You don't have to fold it like I had. Or you could just use a different color center to make it look the way that you want. I hope that the tips that I provided helped. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments, and thank you so much for watching. Bye.